Howdy, partner. Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers.
With Liz Duffy. I always like to start the podcast off by talking about how we met. And I think I might have, I know I've briefly run into you, but this is really our first meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are my favorite. Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Leonardo. Pleasure meeting you.
There's no video. He's dressed very smartly, and we just shook hands. He was wondering what he should wear. Are you dressed in black because it's very slimming? Because of your fat childhood?
The whole time, yeah. Yeah, you I liked it too when the Seahawks colors got darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked like a big cartoon, all bright and everything. I felt that way. I guess it's a feeling that's shared by many who have body image.
Oh, we could talk for an hour on that, but we won't get into that. You're here because of your music, but you mentioned earlier that you were born in Seattle.
No. Born in Ketchikan, Alaska.
Oh.
Yes.
Let's go back. So how did your parents end up in Alaska?
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
I guess this is a spot where I can get chatty, I guess, right? You could edit it, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, I'll send you the draft when we're done. Okay. You can figure out what sounds good, what doesn't. Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't get words out. Because remember, I don't know if I don't think some people I've told. Some people I haven't. Down south is common knowledge, Leo's that way. Well, when I was born in Ketchikan, Alaska, in 1966, my mother, I guess I was either late or something. There was something wrong, and she'd had a kidney disease and had to have one kidney taken out in 1963. And she had me later on in life.
How did she meet your dad?
Oh, you want to know that one, huh? Okay, so I'm, let's see, how can I describe this? Because being a wordsmith, but being academically just so bad. Okay, so I'm of both my parents' second litter because they were once married before. Okay, so their prior marriage, my dad was married before, right after the war, and my mom was married before. My mom came from Kansas, some kind of station wagon or some kind of wagon kind of truck thingy, kind of like you would see Beverly Hillbillies coming in.
Yeah. And
it was 1930-something, and everything was all dust stormed out. And, my grandpa, he was looking for work. He was working with his brother worked in the coal mine. And so he got black lung and died. And that was way years later, but... And my grandpa would tell me stories. Grandpas always have to tell you stories. And you're like, Grandpa, tell me a story. So, okay, there I go. Just my ADHD just all over.
No, I love it.
I can't help it. So, I can find it back here. Here I'm coming. Here it comes. Okay, so Beverly Hillbillies and the Grapes of Wrath and the whole deal. So, my mom was she was the oldest, and she was a female, and she had a couple brothers, younger brothers. And I don't know if she didn't have her younger daughter yet. And so the grandmother, she's of the Butler side. They're Scottish, and that's the Choctaw Indian side over the Cherokee side. So her dad had colored skin like mine, but her skin came out more lighter. Sometimes it changes through the generations, but she was a pissy ornery little thing. She's about 4 foot something tall.
And this is 1930.
Yeah.
1940 when she moved up there.
Yeah, about 1938, 30 something. Yeah, 32-ish now, something. I don't know. I got to make sure I know when they were both born. But my dad served in World War II. And so let's see.
Was he born in Alaska too?
I'm going to see if I can fast track that.
Okay.
Okay, so my mom, they're moving to California, the land of milk and honey. It's during the Depression, just getting over. The dust storm runs everybody out of Kansas. And so they land in Stockton in this little town in California in the San Joaquin Valley. And it's basically a farming type of community, agriculture, kind of like here, like the Valley, and lots of migrant farm workers from Latino side of the border. And so when the war gets out, they get a spot, and it's in a house about this, a little bit bigger than this, right? And there's like four of them, the mom, dad, her two brothers, and then her. And so she had hurt her leg, her ankle. She hurt her ankle. She had a cast on it. And they're riding all the way across, and the kids are getting all out of hand, and the tire pops off, and there's nobody strong enough to help out. And she couldn't get her own. So she's 14 years old. You know, so imagine Lucille Ball, okay? A young Lucille Ball, Rita Hayworth. And she's out there, my grandma's out there. Beatrice, my mother's name's Beatrice Lee Ellis. Beatrice, get out there and get that tire fixed. Your brother's crying. And so she's got pissed, fired up her cigarette, because, you know, Lucille Ball, red hair, takes a butcher knife from their, because they're moving, so gets into their, wherever their, what do they call it? Sundry, pantry stuff is boxed.
Yeah.
Takes that butcher knife, cuts that thing off, right? And so that she can move around. And then her and the other brother was a little bit younger than her. They change the tire. They get into Stockton, and they get jobs on picking tomatoes and asparagus alongside some of the Mexicans. And just then, the Filipinos were coming in that were being naturalized from work from serving in the United States, you know, services. After the war and the Pacific Campaign, you know, they said, well, we're not going to turn this boat around in the middle of New Guinea and drop every one of you little Filipinos off at every one of your little islands. We're going to go to Camp Beale, and we're going to go to San Francisco, United States of America, and you'll be sworn in and naturalized for, you know, the convenience of the military, U.S. military. And then when I kept wondering, for the convenience of, what's this mean? Convenience of the military. And I had this little record thing. And so I'm trying to get back to where you want to know how.
Well, you said your mom was in California. Was she making her way up to Alaska with her family?
Oh, no. Okay, so my mom moves to California from the Depression. They get into a floating house, which has a chain that's spiked to the levee, and all these tires on the bottom of it, and gigantic tractor tires or whatever. And when the levee would go up, because, you know, I don't know if they had dams or whatever that was, the levee would go up and it would go down, and they lived on a floating house. So sometimes when it's go down, they have to kind of skip across the water to get on the shore. But it didn't go down river because it was spiked with deep, you know, all kinds of spikes.
Yeah.
And they had these dances and stuff. It was in the 40s, and the war was just out, so they had swing dancing, and Saturday night, let's go dance. So it's the only time they can get dressed up, because they've been out there picking alongside all the, you know, olive-colored people and different colored people, and they're white people. And so, but my mom sees this fella at the dance, and his name's Gene Romero. He's a Filipino guy from an island across from my dad's island. Okay, they kind of fall in love. She gets pregnant. She's 15 years old, pregnant, and so they get married. And somehow he's got some kind of something. I guess he worked for the Farmers Association or unions and some parts of his military, and he'd been in America already. I guess he was already here somehow, and then he went and served and then came back. So he had a little bit of some kind of substantial money to move around or some credit. He goes up to Alaska, and he gets a credit thing with the local wood sawmill, and he builds his own house. Big, gigantic house. No codes back in the days, right? So like 14-foot ceiling, and then the whole top is just this big attic. And he had built a ladder to get up there a long time ago. But when I was there in the 70s, we had to like get on this big old 12-foot ladder, and my brother had to hold it. But upstairs was like a big, like a barn. It was like being at the Conway Muse barn. You know,
Oh,
it was
wow.
really big, not that big, but it felt that way to a 6-year-old kid.
And so your mom went up there with him
And
in
so
Alaska, started a life.
Yep, and so he built like 8 rooms in this place, you know. And so he worked at the local um, fish processing cold storage, and so my mom she started getting little part-time jobs as a waitress. Well, she come home pregnant. Okay, it's not his, and so he raises the kid as his. She comes home pregnant again, not his. The first one was his. She had one with him, and I was wondering, watching this kid, and so probably he worked nighttime. That's right, yeah, because they did I worked there too. It was grave shift, and you can work, and everybody's off, and everybody's coming to work, and while everybody's going home.
Oh, it's like a 24-hour operation.
Yeah, I mean, what he did was they like to do it early when the ships come in, and I guess that way there's not a bunch of traffic, and that's how they process it at night, and they freeze it overnight, and they have to pull it out of the freezers. It's a cold storage.
I'm thinking about the time of, in the 1940s, 50s, this would be. And I'm thinking about...
Yeah, 40s.
Was your mom... Obviously, we don't know, but I'm just thinking, was that your mom's way of trying to get out of this marriage?
Yes.
Because back then, you couldn't just get divorced like you can now.
That's right. Okay, so... and also what it was yep, that's right. And when she got married, it was grandma pressuring. That man's got money.
And she's 15, and this time of
we can't feed all you kids, and so you should get married to him. He's a good man. It looks like he's been here. And then lo and behold, she became pregnant. Well, then you better treat my daughter right. And so she, so after about 2 or 3 different kids, with 4 kids, I had a brother, sister, and 3 brothers and 2 sisters. All right, so same time, my dad gets recruited for the actually he joins the Philippine Army, and the Japanese are hitting, right, in the Philippines. Same time she's driving this car to California.
And so just your dad's from the Philippines?
Yes.
Okay.
And her first husband and all that, she did all that. My dad, he marries he gets let off at Camp Beale. He's a paratrooper, and so he hurt his leg. And when he hurt his leg, he couldn't do any more fighting. So, but he was in a bunch of hand-to-hand combat with Japanese on these islands. And so when he did this one jump somehow in the on one of the islands or in the bushes or jungle, he was trying to navigate himself down, and he just when you fall out of the sky, you fall pretty fast.
Yeah.
So he impacted his leg, and he's always had one leg a little bit shorter than the other. They put him in the mess hall to cut potatoes and stuff, and then they started rendezvousing with all these battleships, and they transferred people from that one to this one, and there's this long corridor, and he goes, there's going to be a special menu that we may need to make for a few men that are visiting here, and then we're transferring them to another ship before we get to San Francisco, because it was a better ship. The other one's all beat up, and it's going to be you, and you can't tell nobody, because if the word gets out, somebody might find a way to kill Douglas MacArthur by poisoning his food. And he goes, okay. And so my dad did his best, and he said I was so annoyed because he's Filipino. So imagine it's Lucy and Ricky. All right. You got a white woman who's just bitter, snappy at everybody and pissy, and then you got this Filipino guy who speaks English, but it's kind of misunderstands some words, and it's a broken Philippine accent. So he's like, "Huy." That's not how the Filipinos. I don't know if anybody knows how Filipinos talk, but even amongst ourselves, we're always laughing because it's the hardest language to sing. And later on, I'm gonna let you go look at a guy who sings "Another One Bites the Dust" in Tagalog, which is a Filipino language, and you will get a kick. It's funny.
I love it.
So, okay, let me condense this. I'm getting there. Okay, here we go. They let my dad off. He gets married, and she has a couple of kids, and my dad's working for Sacramento Army Depot as his job thing. My dad gets put in the mess hall, and then when they announce the war is over, and so it's he comes through in each little cabin with all the mates in there, and there's a guy that comes through and says, "Okay, you guys are to report to the ding ding ding. Okay, guys, yeah, war's over." And they're throwing stuff around. Get to my dad's, right. And then, it's white guys, maybe some Chinese dude and then a Hispanic guy and one black guy or something. And everybody's, oh yeah, we're going home. We're going home. And the guy's handing out whatever he's supposed to say, issues for something that you've officially been, whatever, war's over. And my dad goes up to him and goes, I'm going home. Sorry, Mr. Canan, we can't stop at each and one of those little islands and drop each one of you little Filipinos off. You're going to America. So I don't have no home. Oh, don't worry about it. You're going to work for the Army Depot. We got you set up. Just relax. You're going to be naturalized as an American citizen for the work you've done. He jumped out of airplanes, so he's done some work for him, and we're happy about that.
So he didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. And his island was getting beat up, and like his cousins were getting tortured by the Japanese, and they had to grab sticks because, well, in the Philippines, they had this, it's like a martial art, like Kung Fu and like Bruce Lee, but it's a stick fighting. And they started making swords. And the famous thing that's world renowned is on the island, on my dad's island, there's a guy, he was they call it a screamador or a screama warrior, which is arnis stick fighting. And they use swords that they made that are, pretty scary looking swords. And they just learned how to do all that cool, like a samurai, but Filipino version, right?
Oh.
And so when the Japanese were showing up with their samurais, the screamadors, they had learned all these fighting skills, and they were taking them out. And so
maybe it was good that he couldn't go back.
Yeah, and his family retreated to the hills, and a lot of family, because the islands, there's little hills up there, and they can fight off the Japanese. And luckily, some of them, by the time they got there, it was right at the tail end where the Americans were coming. And so they got distracted, so they couldn't take all the islands. So a lot of people were lucky. And so what had happened was, here's how my dad got to America. They were getting beat up. He was in the Filipino Army, hand-to-hand combat, and they said, we got to retreat. The Japanese are just on us right now, and we're running out of supplies. Go this way, and we're going to go meet up with the Americans. We're going to Brisbane, Australia, and we're going to reload and reapproach and, see how we're going to do. And if you guys if you guys want to fight again or something, or if you don't or something, we'll assign you something different or whatever. My dad said, I jumped ship. I go, what did you jump ship? When we got to port, I see the Americans, and they said they give us some liberty. We drinking, playing cards, and then a big officer coming. I need some scouts. Scouts? What are scouts? Are you afraid to jump out of an airplane? You strong? Have you operated a gun? Yeah. Oh, I know my R1 whatever rifle. Okay. You're going to go 4 weeks basic training for paratrooper. You're going to be in the U.S. The 11th Airborne 11th Airborne Rangers Filipino First Infantry. And we're going to go to New Guinea, and we're going to take back some of the islands. The Japanese are there. And so that brings you to where he got hurt, and now he's got married. Okay, so my dad divorces the lady and goes up, his wife, first wife, goes up to Ketchikan, Alaska.
Did he just follow work up there?
Yeah, all the migrant workers and all the Filipinos and all the Mexicans and all the poor white people from the valley, they would go up there seasonally to do the fishing industry and get on the fishing boats, and then they go back and they have a little bit of money, and they had to move around seasonally, just like they did with the fruits and all the apples. Yeah,
whenever I think of migrant workers, I always think about crops and like farms. I don't think about fishing, but that makes complete sense.
And it was a heavy labor thing that hired non-whites, cutting guts, fish, and all that kind of stuff. And Alaska was different. They were just like, we just need workers up here.
Yeah.
So that's what that was all about. So here he is, getting off the fishing boat, going into the Reach-In Bar and Grill, and here's Lucille Ball there, and he's ordering stuff, and he's lying there checking each other out, and song comes on the jukebox. Oh, that's my favorite song. I like that song. So next day, my dad comes in again for lunch, puts that song on.
Do you know what song it was?
I don't. I wish I might be able to.
Text me at like 3 a.m. in 2 weeks. I'm sure it'll come to you at some point.
I've never heard, found out what it was, but one of my older brothers might, because the story might have went down to my little my brother on my dad's side.
Yeah, that'd be cool to find out what song it was.
I know that. I know, huh? I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So he came in.
So he's doing this courtship thingy, whatever, right? And she's she's liking him. My dad was handsome. He was a tall class Filipino. They called him the Visayan Filipinos. They were lighter skinned, and it was rumored that they had either Spanish or Captain Cook and some Irish people came through there, or pirates, or some French or something. But anyway, some Japanese are white skinned too, and tall class like that basketball player, the Chinese guy.
Yeah.
So genetics will do that too. So my mom liked my dad, and lighter skin, but she already was with the Filipino guy anyway. So she had this thing for olive skin guys, or I guess after that, I like dark meat or something. I don't know. Maybe because she's really white or something. So okay, so. She's still kind of living at that place, with the first husband and taking care of those kids. Finally, my dad introduces himself, and Gene understands what's up. And Gene's the first husband, and now's the time. Okay, if you're gonna do this, then this is not your home anymore. So she got divorced, and he had gotten a Quonset hut. He rented a Quonset hut for him and me when I was born, and her. I lived in there for just only about a year and a half, and then after I was born, we moved to Seattle, and so it was just the three of us.
Did they just need a change? What was the?
Well, Dad got offered to work for Sea Land shipping containers, the Merchant Marines. Prior to that, he was just doing that part-time seasonal stuff, and he had worked with the Army Depot, living in Sacramento, but that's his other family, that's his ex-wife, and he wants, and everybody said, hey, we're going to Alaska, let's make some quick money. So everybody who worked at the Army Depot did that if they weren't hooked up and called Sacramento their permanent home. Some of them went up there for a couple months and then came home, sent money home. And
Did you guys end up in West Seattle then?
No. That's because us on this side in West Seattle, we see each other from both hills. It's like two beacons, and like when I was a little kid, I could look over my hill and see the Bartell drugs through a telescope that I was given for Christmas. I was born on Christmas.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, and I got stories about that too. But let's wrap up the whole deal about my mom and dad. Okay, so we moved to Seattle. We moved to another little house, and that was okay. But I kept getting away, and I'd fall asleep. I'd fall asleep in the back of the car because there was a ragtop car across the street. And then when the ragtop car was up, my mom would wonder where I was at, and I was climbing on top of that car trying to get in that car because the person had put the thing up, the lid up. And finally, my mom had to put a harness on me. And I guess I was born with a touch of narcolepsy, and I'd be playing somewhere all hyperactive, and then and I had not imaginary friends, but I was always a lone only child, so a lot of times I'm talking to myself, or I take my little Hot Wheels and go, okay, Jerry, you want to meet over here? Okay, we'll meet over here. So I guess I just started talking to myself and entertaining myself. So I spent a lot of time alone, and I was still young yet. And my mom put a harness on me, and then one day she found me. I was underneath my bed, but luckily my feet were sticking out a little bit, and so she goes, "What's going on? How come you're taking a nap during the day, or you're just falling asleep wherever?" And they said he has a touch of narcolepsy, and it has something to do with his brain, and he might grow out of it though, because he goes, "Is she?" The doctor said. Asked my mom, am I doing it like at the dinner table, or am I doing it over here, or randomly? He goes, oh no, just every so often he'll get real quiet, and that's when I have to go look for him, and he'd be randomly fall asleep somewhere. So she started putting a harness on me so I don't end up somewhere in the street, fall asleep, and get run over.
So is narcolepsy almost like there's a spectrum? Because I think about, I have kids in my class who are our school who are autistic or autistic,
See,
and they're on the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So I always thought
Asperger's.
you have narcolepsy or you don't, but it sounds like you were on a spectrum of narcolepsy, like not major, but just a little bit. Yeah.
And I pretty much growed out of it. When I started eating and overeating, I started just being a lone kid, and I just eat food. Pizza. When I discovered pizza when I was a kid, I didn't know what pizza was. I was living in Seattle, and my dad was rice and food, and my mom would make like pot roast, and that was it. And chicken and dumplings.
Were you at school when they served pizza and you're like, what?
Yeah, on that
what
big
is
old,
this?
It was this big old sheet that they pulled out of the oven. They cut it into squares. It was all chewy.
This is amazing.
And it was yummy. And it had that real heavy duty foil, and I guess it had big sheets of it. So I remember because the school on Beacon Hill in Seattle, they give the kids, they can either go 2 by 2 and go clean the erasers, or you can go help the lunch lady, move the carts around, and then and serve, or you bring it to each pod. And it was in elementary school. That's when I started to really fall behind. I didn't realize it. Now they started putting me in alone in these hubs, supply hubs with small groups, and go, this is special class.
Like special ed.
Yeah, and we just sat there and talked. But I think the people that were there were just observational to see the behavior and diagnose what's going on with this kid or something. But a lot of that, I can't remember much of it anymore. That it's kind of fading away.
Did you have trouble academically, behaviorally, both?
I wasn't a bad kid, but I couldn't, anytime, I wasn't fast-witted. When okay, everybody, who's the president of the... I wasn't the one who had his hand up. I was either like this, or I was just looking straight at him, almost like a Charlie Brown. Womp, womp, womp. I mean...
So you could have maybe known the answer, but you just needed more time to process the question.
Yeah, well, it was hard to, because I didn't. A lot of times, if it was an answer, I don't know, I didn't. I couldn't. A lot of my I couldn't write and read as fast. They'd put something on. There used to be a thing where they put a whole thing up that you have to write, and then you solve it or whatever, some kind of essay.
On the projector.
Yeah, on the chalkboard, because it's chalkboard days
or chalkboard, yeah.
Because I was born in '66.
Well, no, you mentioned going outside and cleaning the erasers, and I thought that's why you have asthma, because you're out there breathing all the chalk dust from. Yeah. We don't have that anymore. We just use whiteboard markers.
I was excited a couple times because I had a crush, and they go,
so you go there with
why
your
don't
crush.
You and Melody go? And I'm all,
Is that what started your fascination with music? This girl, Melody?
Oh, hey, I didn't think about that, but yeah, melodies, harmonies, all that kind of stuff.
The next girl was Harmony, and so you went to school.
Daddy sang bass, Mama sang tenor. Let me finish the parents. Okay. Your question was, how did they meet?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's...
Well, no, we talked about how they met in Alaska, and then you moved to Seattle.
Okay.
And you grew up in Seattle.
Until 1980, my dad decided he was getting more action, and he was his ship that he liked, that he was pretty steady with, was I think my dad was actually planning to leave my mom around that time. I was 14, so that's basically a lot of, there's got to be more mental health and support for families that are falls apart, single families or something like that. Especially then, my mom was always a homemaker. She couldn't get a job. She tried to be a nurse's aide, but she had issues. But she can write real good, and she can do math real good, and change an alternator. But she don't talk to people. She's like, oh, bullshit. I ain't gonna go down there to that school and talk to those people. They got to get you in or get you. I had your shots records already, and my mom would just get all pissy with them, and then she just come on home, just help me out around the house. So I was out of school a lot. I did a little bit, but every time I went, none of my stuff was complete. And they thought that I was just, I wasn't paying attention. And of course, I always attract all the thugs. And so I got the cats from Rainier Valley over here sitting behind me. And all of a sudden, I'm in trouble. I'm like, no, I'm not in. They're over there doing some stuff, and they hand me something, and I'm the guy caught with, they're setting me up.
Give it to Leo.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
So it was a mix of your mom kind of, didn't mind if you weren't there, plus you were struggling a bit.
Yeah, and she didn't know that. She just thought, okay, he's a little bit different. I'm gonna just keep him at home, because I want to protect him because he doesn't understand the world out there. And it took a long time. I ended up going to continuation schools. So when I'm when I moved down here to Sacramento, my dad had bought this. He got VA loan, got this nice brand new house. 3-bedroom house. I had my own bedroom and stuff.
Oh, so you guys went from Seattle to Sacramento in 1980.
Yeah, because he can drive. Yep, because he can drive the 70 miles to San Francisco, Oakland Bay area, and do his job, and then he's out, and he was always an absentee father, by work. He'd be gone when I was first born, and after we moved to Seattle, he started working. He would be gone 6 months, almost a whole year.
Wow.
And there's a crazy story about that. I wish I could condense stories because I can't talk very well. But I was scared of my dad. He came home, went over to my mom, started to try to kiss her, went over to grab me and pick me up, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I started crying. And he kept trying. We would sit down later on, had some dinner, and I had to put me in the other room because I was mad at my mom, who's this guy, who's a stranger that she's kissing. And so he was sad about that. I'm going to tell you about me. This is what brings it to the music part. Yes.
I knew we'd get there eventually.
Okay, yeah. So I was scared of my dad. And my mom was, they were sad, because they were in love. And they were going to start a whole family of 3. My dad, had... At that time, that was when the economy was good. So we had a nice big house, Victorian house. And so, but he was gone. So when I was scared of my dad was really upset, because he really loved me. I was special to him. And later on, when they buried him or they did a thing for him, everybody asked who was his favorite kid, and all the older ones from the first litter were like, me? No, I was always Daddy's favorite. And then their mom was there because Leonardo was always his favorite.
Oh.
Because he came out. I was the last one born of 2 litters. Remember I said litters, and so being the last one born, they'd be like my grandparents, like most people's grandparents' age. They're the World War II era. That's most people of my age. That would have been their grandparents. So I was born late too, and that's probably why I got developmental issue because my mom, she couldn't have. They told her not to have baby because of the kidney thing.
Yeah.
And that's why probably what made it difficult. Then they had to cut me out cesarean section. I was suffocating, and I got either water or some air, or didn't get enough at a certain time, and they finally got me out, and I was just kind of quiet. I cried a little bit, and then they had to watch me incubator type thing or something real close, and they said, yeah, he might come out with some developmental things, but he might grow out of it, and then of course later on we found out, touch of this and maybe some odd, like Rain Man is what they were trying to. Later on, when my sister said, because she has a touch of it too, she's talking to herself and she's redoing everything and saying it over again. My attention span is so bad that if I see something and if I don't write it down, I have to repeat it over and over again. Over and over again. And if I get one distraction or one shiny object, right?
Squirrel.
I'm a very, very empathetic kind of guy. So I feel vibes. I have this kind of sixth sense, and if something's, if somebody's feeling sad, I start feeling sad too. And empathetic about it, and so I was always a nice kid. I wasn't a troublemaker. I wasn't like, okay, this guy's just trying to get away with whatever he can and not do anything,
Well, when you moved to Sacramento when you were 14, 15, right?
Yeah, developmental
Did you end up did you start school down there?
Okay.
Hoping that was a fresh start?
Yeah, and I thought, okay, I did okay. I guess I graduated with D's and stuff. I never had good grades. Kindergarten, I think they gave everybody A's, so I thought everything was all good. But after about 3rd, 4th grade is when I'm noticing they're way ahead of me, and I'm over here, and something's going on, and they're making fun of me like you retarded kid, and so that's the reason why my mom didn't tell me straight up. And you had all these issues, but after they died, and I came up here just recently, just last year, my sister told me, yeah, when you were born, the doctors were scared that they were going to lose you. That's why they cut you out, cesarean section. Oh, wow. And then it makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's not me. And I used to, because I'm this nice guy. I'm not trying to get away with something or pull one over on somebody, or I've never stole from nobody or, did any kind of thugging or anything like that. But dropping down into Sacramento, California, I learned all that stuff because after Dad divorced Mom, we didn't have that nice brand new house anymore. We had to move to the poor neighborhoods, and I learned all the street stuff, and I ran away from home at 17 with a guitar, heading to Seattle, thinking I'd just work in the fishing canneries and play on the streets. And that's when I first fell in love with busking. I go to Pike Place Market and I play, and to sing a song and have somebody give you money and smile that they love that song. And I'm like, wow, I like performing. I like singing. Okay, but here's what happened. That's right. I was scared of my dad, right? And so my mom got a picture of my dad. And I was still 3 years old, something like that. And she put it on the kitchen door. And every morning she maybe say, "Good morning, Daddy." And every night, "Good night, Dad," and give Daddy a kiss. Well, when my dad came through the door, "Hi, Daddy." And I hugged him, and he was all happy, and he had this gold tooth, and that made me so happy. And I go, wow, this guy is kind of cool. And then later, this is your daddy. It's your daddy. Oh, Daddy, this same daddy is in the picture. And I'm like, well, it's Daddy. So I wasn't scared of the guy anymore because I'd never seen him. And to bring it to my being a recording artist and everything, so that's why recording is just, I can't live without. That's why I probably isolate, and I can enjoy making my own songs. And sometimes I'll be in the garage, just grooving out on my own grooves, and they're tapes, so I can tape them over and again. I don't lose data. Yeah. I don't need no internet. And people are going, "Leo, what are you doing in there, dude? Come out and play." No, man, I got this one song. I want to level out the bass, and it's bleeding into the other track because cassette tape is analog tapes. God's little ghosts.
Yeah.
So what had happened was, another thing my dad wanted to do was hear my voice, and my mom wanted to make sure that I heard my dad's voice too, so I would not, forget him, stay familiar. And on the ship, they probably had some kind of, radio to call in, "Hey, the ship's coming in," but they didn't have phones, and so they would, if the spouses would send all the mail to wherever their work is. So he was doing Yokohama, Japan, and Hong Kong, and Korea or Taiwan, one of those, somewhere Asian type deal. And so my mom would send my dad. He bought these Scotch tape recorder, reel to reel, like Mission Impossible, and those two, and bought a whole bunch of them, and bought one for him and one for her. And on the ship, he'd be in his cabin listening to music, because I guess that's how they listened to music in 1960, whatever. Put the cassette reel on, or not cassette, but the reel to reel, and tighten it up and push play and enjoy. Well, my mom put this little pin light microphone. He says, "Talk to Daddy now." What? He's not here, Dad? No, you're going to talk into this, and he's going to hear your voice. Oh, really?
Oh, my God.
"Hi, Daddy." Sing Daddy a song. And I started making up a little song. "I love you, Daddy." And then, so my dad got really, really happy, And then I heard my dad, "Hey, son, I love you. I'll be home soon, okay?" And then it just, wow, this is neat. And then the tape recorder and singing. And then my mom would set me up in front of every Elvis movie, and I'd be watching it, learning how to sing Elvis songs, and this guy is, all these people like this guy and his songs,
Was she doing that intentionally, or did she just love Elvis
She
too?
loved Elvis and Tom Jones, but my dad didn't like it that she liked Tom Jones because he was a big man with a low voice.
That's funny. But she didn't mind that he liked Elvis, or that she liked Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "You can like Elvis.
I think everybody likes him because of movies.
Just don't like Tom Jones."
Yeah. I don't know. I think she just got super excited one time in front of him, and that was a no-no or something.
That's hilarious.
And so
that was the beginning of your
We
recordings.
would do that. And one day, my mom said, "Hey, we're going to go fly on the airplane to San Francisco, and we're going to meet your daddy, and we're going to have dinner, and we're going to stay in a hotel." And I didn't know what a hotel was. And he said, "Why don't you tell Daddy you're excited to see him?" "Daddy, I'm going to ride on the airplane. First, I'm going to take the car. Then we're going to take a train to see you, Daddy." Just whatever. And I had the tape for a little while, and I'd play it, it was on. And then we lost the tape player somewhere time in the 70s. But I'd listen to it, and she goes, "Who's this little kid on this tape singing songs?" "That's you. You made up all these songs about lyrics about seeing Daddy and riding on the airplane, and I miss you, Daddy, I love you. And I went to Space Needle today because my mom would take me to Space Needle, because being an only child, and she was sick. She had to take mental health medications for her nerves, and she slept a lot and chain smoked and did her circle of words and watched the soap opera and go out and dig in the tulips, and that was it, really. And so, and she quiet most of the time, but she was a good mom. She was just, I think it was schizophrenia, I think.
Well, I'm just thinking about the whole recording thing that she thought of and putting.
Oh, that was her. That's my mom.
Putting his picture on the fridge and having you say, like, she's such a good mom.
My mother loved me a lot, and I held it in when she died, but I lived down there with her, and all my brothers and sisters were up here. They were kind of like, I was already 20-something years old, and I'd already been to L.A. and in and out of bands, and so I had long hair and cut off Levi's and cowboy boots, and they're like, "You got on some kind of drugs?" Yeah, I smoked marijuana. I did all. I party as much as you do. And that guy, my brother, I think all the '70s guys who hot rodded cars smoked weed. But they were like, you're already 26 years old. How come you haven't helped Mom out? I go, I wasn't living with Mom. Mom was living in an elderly older adults type of 55 and over type of apartment thing, and she was on Social Security.
And that was when you were 26.
I was about 20. I was about 24 years old. No. I was about 28. I was 28 years old because I'd met this girl and I hadn't had my first son, but it was at that time when I heard she died, and I went up to go check her out because I went up to see her about a week before that. Spent the night, cooked some food, and then I went back downtown. And I was seeing this girl. I just ran into this girl, and we seen each other before, and it was like our honeymoon. It was kind of weird how when these things happen, like I'm losing my mom, but then I gained the mother to my son, and she said something that my mom looked at her in the eye when she first met her, but my mom was really losing touch. And we had to take the keys from her because she'd pick me up and drive. And so part of my disability is I never couldn't learn how to drive a car. That's why you see me on a bike. I don't know. Everybody tried, but I guess I couldn't focus or something. And the car would go like this, and they go, "Get me out of here! My insurance can't handle it." And so the opportunities that people were, and I would, I'd seek. I want to learn to drive.
Yeah.
But I don't want to break nobody, I'm super sensitive to things and I don't want to kill people, so.
Does the idea of, because people are talking about like self-driving cars these days, does that appeal to you or does that kind of scare you a bit?
Since I've moved my body around by my own will, like my own muscles and my thought made the leg move forward and I propelled myself upon the surface of the earth with just my body. So, I don't know, to not be able to put on a brake or maneuver the bike, because everything's, since the age of 5, I've been riding a 2-wheel bike. So I've been a 2-wheel cyclist all my life, basically. I can navigate that and get places. Everything's a pathway, though. It's not I'm reckless. It's not. It's just somehow, it's not like, because now they tell me because I got lights on the bike and it's a motorized bike, I gotta not be pretending that I'm a motor vehicle. But if you do, and you can, you gotta stay with the speed of everything. You gotta know when to yield and stop.
Oh yeah.
See, I didn't know. I couldn't understand none of that because I couldn't even drive a car. So I'd get all nervous or something. I just couldn't focus. They said they'd get scared because I'd do something jerky, and the car would either try to kill us. Yeah. And so, and then I got kind of a phobia over the years. Like, I don't know, unless I get out to a country setting and go out over here and start tearing up some dirt and do some mudding. And once I get the hang of it, then I can go to DMV and take the test. But
all right, so if anyone's listening, Leo wants a driver to take him out and get him in the mud. So you had said that you guys moved to California and you kind of were in a rough neighborhood. Your mom got divorced, and at 17, you grabbed your guitar and left. Did someone give you a guitar and you taught yourself? How did that go?
Okay, so guitar started here in Seattle. I was 10 years old, and let's see. Well, there was always a ukulele hanging. I don't want to make a long story. There's always a ukulele hanging, and when Kiss came out, I pretended I was Kiss. And
On a
Gene
ukulele?
Simmons, on a ukulele, because it's 4 strings, right? And so I was pretending I'm Gene Simmons, And when I was a kid, because my birthday's on Christmas, and my dad made sure, with the sea merchants, that every year he'd be home for his son's birthday and have a big party, and he'd hired bands, and that also inspired me to be a musician.
Oh, wow.
So we'd have these big parties, because my dad was down in Chinatown. There's the Asian community. Well, my dad's lodge was down there, and he belongs to Masonic Brotherhood, Mason Brothers of Mason, and so I'd go down there with him, and we'd go get an ice cream cone at the Highlight Cafe, but he'd stop at all these pool halls, right?
Yeah.
One across the street from the Wajimaya, the old Wajimaya, and one over here on King Street, and then we'd go over to the lodge, and there's certain areas that could only stay in the lodge. Like down in the basement, they'd have all the families and all Christmases and stuff. So, but there would be a brother who ran in the lodge. He lived there, Brother Ray. Push a button. Okay. We go in there, and Brother Ray comes out. And so I was like my dad's buddy. And everybody in Chinatown, and my dad used to go to these pool halls. And every time I go to the pool halls, he'd sit me down with my ice cream cone, go in the back, come back with a big old wad of like green something, lettuce or something. And I was like, okay, we went to a pool hall, and my dad came back with a big old wad of money. Okay, I didn't think of nothing about it. Oh, my friend, he owed me money. It's okay. Let's go out to eat. We go to Tai Tong. So I go to Tai Tong, the Chinese cafe right there, and get hambao, and then go back. So they all knew me in Chinatown too. So this is Jimmy, and this is so and so, and they're all these old guys. They're all suited up, but it's Filipino, so it's like a Goodfellas Filipino or something. And there was, hey, Santiago, Big Sammy, they called him. Big Sammy. Oi, Big Sammy's coming. We're going to go to the party for the son. So all these Filipinos, everybody come from Chinatown that he knew. And some friends of my mom's would have every Christmas on December 25th, it's early crack the dawn, and my uncle, my godfather would come in. And I would notice my godfather because if I snuck up, because I was sleeping downstairs in the basement, I heard some noises. And if I snuck up and I look under the tree, and there's these tangerines that are wrapped in this kind of copper color paper in a wooden box type of thing, and so that would be his every Christmas. That would be his offering to me, so I'd know he was there, and I'd hear somebody in the kitchen. He always did the turkey. He was like my dad's main guy for cooking, because my dad was, that's how he paid the bills. He worked on a ship, and he cooked for all these people because he had learned that skill, cooking in the army, because he couldn't do no more killing anymore. So, yeah, man, I'm telling so many stories in one story.
No, we were talking about how you got your first guitar and how you started playing.
Oh, yeah, okay. So the first guitar. Okay, the first guitar, my sister, the youngest one, she's 5 years older than me. My sister Paula, she came to stay with my mom and me at our house in Seattle, and she was living with her dad in Ketchikan, and she was getting to be about 14, 13 years old. So, there was some issues to raise a 14-year-old kid, teenage girl in the 70s. It's just like that 70s show. Okay. And she did look like the one with the dark hair too.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. And so, she's pretty. She's 14. And I was hanging out with a couple of Asian friends of mine, guys half Japanese and half white, and a couple Chinese friends of mine, and they were my best friends. And we went to the elementary school right down the street from our house, and we'd go to this big park. Well, before they built the park, it was just a field of sticker bushes, blackberry bushes.
Yeah.
And so my sister saw, I said, she goes, what are you doing? And go, let's go down to your school and play basketball or do something. Do you have any friends? Does your friends have any older brothers? And I go, well, I have friends, and they're kind of older than me. A couple of them are. My buddy Alan is. And Alan was 17. She was 14. And I don't know, she's 15. She was 15. and they liked it. And this guy used to make nunchucks. We'd always go to Alan's house, and he's half Japanese, so the parents saw me. I'm younger. They say, "Hey, stay for dinner." And I'm learning how to use chopsticks, and I'm hanging out with my Chinese friend guy lives down the street, and I ended up joining the Seattle Kung Fu Club, and and learn martial arts, and so it was kind of cool. All of a sudden, my sister's got a crush on my buddy, and so this guy's not hanging out with me, swinging nunchucks and making nunchucks anymore. He wants to hang out with the girl, and he played guitar. Okay, the guitar. That's right. He played guitar, and he looked like Keith Richards. He had this kind of cut hair and dark hair, kind of thin built. And he'd take me down to Seattle Music downtown on the bus, and we go down there and we walk with my sister, and just walk around by the pier, and we do hang out till real late at night, just walking around. And I guess they were just kind of making out and kissing. And one time he goes, "I got tickets to Blue Oyster Cult, and we could take him too." And I'm like, so I'm going to my first concerts at the ages 9 years old. And this guy would take me and my sister to these kegger parties up in the U District. They would rent moose lodges and have kegger parties. And there was this band called Uncle Cookie, and they were like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the New York Dolls, because it was 74, 76. So it was right in the David Bowie kind of glam type thing. So I'm already being adulterated into, adult situations via music and rock and roll and whatever comes along with it, and checking out how these guys are playing these guitars, and it's sounding cool. And I heard that song on the radio, and they learned them. He goes, "I got a guitar. You want to learn?" I go, "Yeah, sure." I don't
Like an
know.
acoustic guitar?
It was a Silvertone. And this particular kind is renowned for coming with a guitar case that has a built-in amp, and they're collector's items if they're in good shape. So he goes, "This is my first guitar. I don't know if I should give it to you." And I'm walking around with him, and he's showing me this is a power chord, and I didn't know how to tune it. So when he gave it to me, I started messing with it, put on a Jeff Beck record and Jimi Hendrix Experience record and Band of Gypsies. My sister had all this record collection. Every time she come down to stay with my mom, I would have to wake up in the middle of the night and go with them to Alaska Airlines cargo. After we picked her up from whatever her gate was in Alaska Airlines, go, "Why you wake me up at night, Mom?" We get into that Galaxy 500 station wagon, cigarette smoking, all the way from where the Rainier sign is.
Yeah.
All the way on I-5 to SeaTac, and here's this little kid. Now, why do you need me? Oh, you got to help with your sister's records and stereo. So, big old Moran stereo with the lid, and it's in a box like this, and then two other boxes of 33 1/3. And we're carrying up to the station wagon, me and Mom, and then, of course, she gets off. So, it's all three of us. But, there's two girls. They're young. They're small, built, so, and I guess my mom just wanted me to be with her or something like that.
Did you know to go, "Oh, Jimi Hendrix, I like this," or did you just like, "I have no idea what this is"? Put it on.
I think when I was going through them, she would be playing them randomly. So I'd see the cover, and Jimmy's like this here. He's in the middle, and he's got Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding on both sides. And then I heard the song "Fire," and I remember my older brother from my mom's first marriage. He was going to Fort Lewis. He was in the Army National Guard, and he'd come home. And he was a small, bit stout guy, kind of like a young Raging Bull guy. What was that? De Niro?
Yeah.
He was all ripped and stuff. Small built guy, 5'6", and he had his long hair, but because he was an Army, he was an Army National Guard, and they were all kind of they let him go be scraggly, and some of them were not all together, just something to do, I guess. So he liked to go roller skating with my other cousin Billy, and it was at this place called Tiffany's Skating Rink. Now they had a skating rink in West Seattle called Skate King, Beery in West Seattle, but I didn't know about that. But all my class people and kids at school knew about that, but this other place was kind of old school one from the 50s, and a lot of the cigarette smokers and hardcore guys were there, and all the white folks and stuff. And the other ones over there was like brand new. It's like carpet and stuff. So it was day glow paints and all that kind of stuff, like you would see roller skating rinks nowadays, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so, but every time that song Fire would come on, what's up, dude? How you doing, man?
Oh God, you
Yeah.
scared me.
Man, I
Hi.
kept talking too much.
What's that?
I just let you know we're having dinner up there, so
Oh, okay, sure.
we're
Hi,
getting ready for bed.
this is Leo. This
How's
is
it going?
Olive, my daughter.
Olive Pleasure. I'm Leonardo, but you can call me Leo.
Riley's fascinated by your bike, by the way.
Oh, okay. You got helmets and stuff like that. So
Well, he's going to bed, but maybe
okay. Yeah.
Hey,
sometime
this is
soon.
gonna be our first summer here, so we'll definitely connect with Leo and find out where he lives. And
Yeah, I live
Yeah.
Maybe,
I live like a block away, dude.
I know. You said Marshall, right?
That's right,
I
yeah.
just was looking the other day, and I noticed where that one's at. So
yeah,
now I'll be keeping an eye out for you.
Cool.
All right.
sure.
Right on,
Okay.
Spence.
All right, see ya. Love you too.
Pleasure meeting you, Olive. Man, I can't even seem to wrap up a topic
No,
until
no.
to me story.
No, this is no. Trust me, this is really good so far. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm really good at like thinking about the end product as we're
Oh,
talking
that's right,
too.
because you can edit it and it's a story, so you get all the good,
Oh,
all
I'll
the
edit it,
good
don't
stuff.
worry. Yeah.
And then,
And I always do it in my head too as we're talking. But I'm gonna say, so is the roller rink? That's where you heard that music. You were like,
Yeah.
oh, I love this.
yeah, my brother and my other brother Larry, he had a Corvair. No, he had a Chevrolet car, and it had S on the front of it, and man, what's the name of that car? It was a Chevrolet car, muscle car.
Yeah.
And he'd always take me for rides in it and do drag racing down on Airport Way, right on the same road that the right below I-5 where the Rainier Brewing thing is, and that's where I heard Steppenwolf, and that's why I thought I always hear my mom saying, Gilbert, are you? Because Gilbert's the oldest one, the one that's in the military. You guys better not be doing any of them doping out there and taking them drugs and drinking and driving. So my mom would get on. Cause my mom and dad didn't do drugs. They're from the World War II era. So probably whiskeys or champagnes, and that's it, And so the music my sister's boyfriend, my friend Alan, gave me a Silvertone guitar.
And so you put the ukulele away.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't need you anymore.
And so I had this guitar, and I didn't know how to tune it. So I'm hitting all the notes, and I'm trying to play to her records. And she had the Kiss Alive album too, and I said, oh, I like that song. And so I'm learning how to play the leads just by ear. And then I'd go to school, and I'd come back, and it might be in a different tuning, or I might just fiddle with the knobs, and I'd find the note again. By ear. And so I had this kind of natural gift of ear tone and learning things just by, and it's part of my thing too. I have to learn things tangible. I can't read them and then follow them and do this and that, and it has to be somebody. And then I master it, and then I'm robotic and methodical, and I get it done, and I'm making 900 more than everybody else is. But then they say, well, now I want to teach you this. And no, I got this. I'm gonna do this. So it's something to do with behavioral stuff. But so he was in a band, and I didn't see his band, but he had a guy come over to the house, and he had a guitar. It was all see-through. It's called a Dan Armstrong guitar.
A see-through guitar?
Yeah, it's like it's a transparent. Yeah, and it was made by a company called Dan Armstrong, and they made basses too. They made basses and guitars, and it was a bass. It was a bass, and I go, wow, that's cool, man. And I'd go with him down to Seattle Music Store, and he would, after the concerts, some parts of Seattle back then were open either 24 hours, like the Broilers, and that magazine store right next to Seattle Music. Well, Seattle Music is next door to a place called another music store called Myers Music, and that's where Jimmy's dad took him in 1961 and bought him a Dan Electro guitar.
Oh, right, because he was from Seattle.
Yeah. It's I think it's a CD district in Rainier Valley, and some of my friends know him. Like you seen the guy? They call him Jimmy James. Yeah, all those musicians kind of in that little area, right there. They all know their parents knew each other, and they kind of went to school together. And some of them are cousins.
Wow.
Yeah, the Williams family. my buddy Walter Brown, his brother, because he has a different dad. There's a picture of him standing at Lachey Elementary School, and there's Jimi Hendrix, and then there's I forgot his first name, but his last name's Williams. Yeah. So yeah, it's cool to be from Seattle and a rock guy like that, Jimi Hendrix. And so I started learning how to play all this music. And my brother would come home on his they give him liberty from the army thing. It was a weekend thing or something, I don't know, part-time. And he'd stay at my mom's house in the basement. And then upstairs we had the stereo, the big old-fashioned stereo, and he put on that record. Or it wasn't, yeah, it was a record. He put on that record. And he'd put me on top of his shoulders and dance around until I bit my tongue a couple of times. And he'd also go, "You want to go to Tiffany's skating rink?" And he'd put me on his shoulders and skate.
Oh my gosh.
And and then the rock music and just people, and then go out in the parking lot and get in their car and head home and have a wonderful time. Maybe they'll meet up at the local hamburger stand or something like that. Might go to Lover's Lane or something, or some kind of lookout point. But
so that's how you first started learning how to play the guitar, is with that one.
So I didn't know how to tune it. And then he said, "I'm going to show you a bar chord, and this will get you started." And he did it, and I go, mine don't sound like that. And then he go, "Well, I got to tune it." And so he tuned it. I go, "What do you mean by tuning it?" He goes, "Yeah, it's just got to be in tune." And somehow I can't remember how he taught me how to tune it. I think it was by harmonics or something. There weren't no guitar tuners around. Somehow I learned by harmonics, and I put on the album that I knew if the guy told me that's in the key of A and this is supposed to be the A note. So I would tune to Good Times, Bad Times or Communication Breakdown by Zeppelin because I knew it was an E, concert E. So if I didn't have a source of like tuning, now I think my ear's pretty much where I can almost have a natural pitch. But I'd always tune to like finding a source, like the record.
Yeah.
Until I learned to play harmonica. Then I always had a harmonica on me because even the Rolling Stones were tuning to a harmonica in a tour bus right before they got on stage in Hyde Park in 69.
Oh, wow.
After Brian Jones died, they were tuning to the harmonica. Because if they're going to play with a harmonica, you might as well be in tune with it, right? And so therefore you got like a pitch part. You've got a concert pitch. And so that for everybody is in unison. Because strings change. That guy's strings was his bass strings. He threw his guitar in the back of the truck. It's probably out of tune. So that was their way of getting all in tune.
I love hearing that because I didn't even think about, because when Olive
I can't read and write music because I can't, do the academics.
When Olive needs to tune one of her instruments, her violin or bass, or, I look up an app and then she tunes it, or we have a tuner.
Okay.
I never thought of, wait, how did you tune it if you didn't have those things? So the harmonica, didn't even think about that. I love that. And then also you knew a certain song was in a certain key. Like, that's just amazing. Because
as soon as he said, this is the E note, and then he goes, you want to play Jimmy, or you want to play Purple Rain, Purple Haze, and he played the chord, and I still couldn't finger it, but I know he goes, you got to know this is the low E string, this is the A string. And you just tune to the record. So you put the record on. You say, you hear that? So, well, there's so many different notes and stuff. I go, well, just listen. And, you'll hear what mode the song is in, kind of. And I started training my ear at the age of 10. And so 9 years old, because 10 years old was 1977, and I wasn't in that house. So, yes, I learned by ear, and then I identified like certain songs. Like I knew Good Times, Bad Times was in a key of E, so that's my low E. And then when he taught me the harmonics and how to tune it to where each string had its own, things. So when you played a chord, it actually sounded in harmony and stuff. Because I'd play it, come home from school, want to play along with the record. Because I really just dug it that I'd learned the 3 bad notes in the riff, and then I'd lift the needle back, and I'd play along with it, and I'd do it again. And then finally, I'd just play along with it. I'd start at the beginning, and I'd be like, ding, playing along with the record the whole time. And the guitar strings weren't even in tune. If they got loose, I just kind of tightened them, just kind of where they were. And I'd have to relearn it, too. I like, oh, man, what's up? Okay, so then I just hear it out and sometimes, because you got 6 strings, or you could play all the way, just go like this on one string, if you know anything about music. But Yeah.
So once you learned how
All
to
by
tune,
ear, and I learned how to tune. Then it all came together, and he started showing me chords, and he showed me some. He was into Rolling Stones a lot. That's why he looked like
Keith Richards.
Yeah, that kind of junky look
Yeah.
or whatever, druggy look.
And so how old were you around this time?
I was just about ready to turn 10 because
Okay.
he bought tickets to see. It was because it was 1976, and so I was 9 years old, and we took us to the Seattle Center Coliseum to see Blue Oyster Cult with Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Wow.
And Bob Seger was barefooted with his bell bottoms. And he had this cool haircut, and I tried to cut my hair like that, but then that's when I started kind of being a fat kid, so I couldn't look cool anymore. But he had this big purple rug carpet, and he was barefooted, and he was just singing his ass off. And he did a version of, I think it was Fortunate Son, and I recognized it, but I go, is this the guy? No. And everybody got all excited and go, no, but it's a Creedence Clearwater song, but that guy's name is Bob Seger. And
So when you're watching it, were you thinking that I want to do
that's all
that?
I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was just obsessed. As soon as I said, I think the very first, because I was always singing. After that, I was singing, all the time. And, Elvis songs come out, singing, and I'd write some songs down or whatever, some lyrics that might have rhymed. But I didn't know what rhyming was in songwriting, but I'd make it up and sing it and just say some songs over and over again, repeat it.
Was another part of it too. I had a friend on named Dane, and he was talking about watching Elvis Presley live. And he said it wasn't necessarily what Elvis was doing, it was the way the crowd was reacting. And you were saying that you love busking because of you get the immediate reaction.
Yeah.
So was that part of it too?
Yeah, and it's a sincere thing. It's like, and I learned earlier too when I first ran away from home, all those busker guys at the Pike Place Market, and then from there I also hopped on the ferry to go get my first job, at the fishing cannery, and they had these guys backpacking on the observation deck, and you could be in a tent out there.
Yeah.
And then of course people out there doing their own thing, and and I wasn't into that. I don't think I had drugs around. No. But this guy about my age had a harmonica, and this other guy had a guitar, and he was singing these songs, and they were busking in Seattle, and then they were on the ferry, and then they got a job working in Ketchikan at a bar, and I saw him again. I go, hey, wasn't you just on the ferry boat? And you guys, yeah, no, we're a traveling band. We're called Tattoo. And I go, wow, you guys sound cool and full. And what it was an acoustic, and there's no electricity. And this is what really inspired me to the connection, the primal connection and the sincerity conviction, or how do you explain it? The mojo of, like, if you're really pouring your heart out for a song and you're like, I'm going to sing it good so I can get more money. And you sing and you sing and you pour it out, and you did like all your songs, you did like, 20 songs and it's 2 hours, and, I got a couple of dollar bills, and in the early stages of this, you go, man, I didn't do so good. Am I not good enough? And you start having these self type of things, and then the next day you do the exact same thing, but you may not even try hard. Maybe you're like, okay, maybe not this time. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. They're throwing all kinds of money down, and there's smiles on their faces. And they go, I love that song. So there's a connection between me and the person, and I've touched the person's whatever that song, because every song earmarks, benchmarks a portion of somebody's emotions and times and memories. And if sometimes if you play a certain song to one person, they have bad memories. They don't like the song, or it reminded them when Dad died or something. And then this is my mom's song, or this is our love song. So that all songs that are created and been played repetitively, so it's part of the music industry too. You hear it all the time. So that really benchmarks like people's lives. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to, because I would do that, I would sing some songs at birthday parties, knowing that somebody said, hey, that was always their favorite song. So bring them there and sing it, okay? Oh, cool. I do that one. And I was always a kid they brought to do things like that at places, because if I had to be with my mom or be somewhere, I wouldn't get into trouble, but, I wouldn't be with everybody, and I couldn't talk to everybody. I didn't have, conversation gab. And so, but I was like, because how, like, if you have those people that always have to have something going on, if they can't, it's not like they're ignoring you. I think I don't know if it's autism, what it is, where, they see you and they hear you, but, and they're not blocking you out and being arrogant about it. They're busy. And what you're doing is cool, but it's if I'm idle, I always have to have a guitar. That's why you see me bringing guitars and also just anywhere. I just don't have this. I can't talk about the game, Yeah. Hey, how about them 49ers now? I can't talk about race cars or sports or anything, So music's my thing, so when I learned to learn how to form chords, I couldn't write the stabs or anything like that. But when I saw the chord chart, I saw the dots where the finger would go, and then it visually made sense. And then all of a sudden, there's these songbooks, and my brother gave me. He came out of the Navy, and Neil Young was his favorite, and he bought the Neil Young Decade album, which was a 3-record set. And I listened to that while he talked about, I love Neil Young, and here's this song about, and Stephen Stills wrote this, and I go, okay, and I started playing it on my guitar. And go, wow, you learned that right just by ear just now. And then for my birthday, him and his wife gave me the book with the chord charts. They used to have books that go with albums back in like if this album came out, then there'd be the book. The songbook with chords.
Really?
Yeah, it was so cool because that's all I wanted. See, I'm an obsessive compulsive, so then I'd go downtown with that guitar player, boyfriend of my sister's, and we'd go into the bookstores and the music stores and record stores would have those. You just go to a regular record store like Tower Records or something. There'll be a whole section with song music, sheet music, and some of the newer songs. Like I guess in the 80s after I moved to Sacramento, Turning Japanese came on the radio, and I went to the record store and I saw it. It was just a thin, just one song, right? So, and I learned how to play it. Ding, 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 ding. And I started liking that, and I got a hold of a Beatles book. Well, no, I didn't do it right away. The music was always resonating in me from my brothers and sisters being on radio, and but my brother from California. When I moved to California, I'm learning to play Kiss and Neil Young and they're kind of on Latino kind of lowrider and R&B side of town, and goes, man, why don't you get into something that more people can relate to? We can't relate to all that Kiss stuff with all that makeup on their face. And I felt sad, because I was going to play Strutter for them that day at the family picnic or something, and I'm just a kid, and they're like blowing me up, man. And so I go, okay, what? And then I don't know, play some Beatles songs or some Bee Gees or some Rolling Stones or something, songs that people heard know already. I go, okay, I guess. And I got a hold of the Beatles complete book. And another thing that trains musicians, if they are forced to take something that they already know and that somebody had transcribed, it would be in a different key or something. But like I really wanted to sound like the record. And this was set up for campfire, easy, some beginners sing, because beginners can't sing real high up here like Paul McCartney and stuff like that, and Ronnie James Dio. So they'd rewrite and transcribe the song to make it to where you could play in open chords over here like the C and G and none of these complicated chords and not really high up. They usually back it up, usually a whole step. And so when I got this Beatles book and I'm putting on the record, because my sister had all these records, and I go, I'm Only Sleeping is in E, a little bit lower than E. And how come it ain't matching when I'm playing the chord here? And I looked at the chord and go, it says F. That's a whole step flat. And so I'd write it out. I go, okay, well then I think, okay, that's a whole step. Okay, so this would be G. And I'd have all these pencil markings all over. And then I'd learn to play it just by ear until I just mastered all I got so obsessive in my recording obsessive thing. I had these cassette players. I had one over here and I had one over here. And one day I recorded myself playing some song I was singing. It was a Beatles song. And I had the other tape player. And so after I did the whole song, I wanted to do John Lennon's part. And I'd practice it with the tape, hear it. Oh, wow, that is harmony. That's when I learned what harmony was. Oh, wow, there's a certain resonation, and when it hits, you can feel it. Right? It creates harmony. And I had the other cassette player, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to push play of what I just recorded over here, and I'm going to move the tape player closer to this microphone on this one, and I'm going to push record over here. And as that guy is singing on this tape player, I'm going to sing and play the lead for George Harrison's part here and sing John Lennon's harmonies over here. And so this tape player would pick up me singing live to the tape player and you can tell it's a little transitory sounding. But in the end, then what happens is, then this tape has me with two guitars doing both John and Paul's part, right? Then I think, well, I'm going to add some drums and play the lead. I'm going to play the bass line. So I learned Paul. I already knew Paul's bass line. So I'd get that tape, and I'd push play on that one, and I get another blank tape over here. So everybody was over here. The two guitar players be singing with me. So it's all me. Because you have to put the tape player so the mic picks it up, but then you can't get too close to it. So the newer source that you're putting on top of it is louder, like somebody's just singing along with the backup thing. So there's a little trial and error. So I kind of back up a little bit, and I could hear it kind of, and that also brings about sensitivity to, your dynamics. If you're this close to a person, you shouldn't be screaming and shouting a certain type of music, especially if they're either elderly or they're innocent or children. You're not going to do all the devil songs, right?
Not all the devil songs.
and especially when money started coming into play. They go, well, we can't have that stuff over here while we're trying to eat dinner, but it's $200 plus you get a meal and all you can drink. And if you put on a suit and learn to sing with dynamics, you can entertain the masses rather than selective, or teenagers, there's always that rebellious thing going on too.
Yeah.
But
and I wanted to get into your rebellion because you said that you ran away when you were 17.
Yeah.
You went to Seattle.
I could always go back to my mom's house for at least another year after that if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I felt bad. I felt my dad had left. I was going to go be a man, a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
My mom's by herself. I'm going to go make a bunch of money. And you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to go up there, make a bunch of money because I started reading books, documentaries of the Beatles, documentaries of recording arts and just all the more songbooks. And then they'd talk about, I bought the Guitar Player magazines and Guitar World magazines. They'd talk about how they wrote this song. So I'm now getting into the songwriter and the composing part of it too, and it's just so it's so me. It felt comfortable. I felt like this is what I like to do.
Yeah, this is what I want to do.
And so like when what was I saying?
Well, so you left and you went to Seattle.
Oh yeah, that's
busking.
right.
But I'm going to just stop you really quick because then didn't you say you went to LA?
Oh,
and you were part of like a bunch of bands.
That was later. When I finally grew up and I was able to like have my own little apartment, and I started in high school.
So how long were you in LA for?
I only went there twice.
Okay.
To showcase for record labels.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but
and then you what year did you move up here?
I moved up here permanently to the Valley here, 2021, I think.
Okay.
It was Thanksgiving Day because the plane landed and my sister picked me up at SeaTac. Well, I'm leaving tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
To go where?
Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
I got a gig tomorrow night.
Well, my point is that this is so fascinating. I want to hear Seattle. I want to hear LA. I want to hear all about, we could probably talk about just your experience in the Valley the last couple of years, right? For like half an hour at least. So I'm going to stop us and we're going to do a part 2 at some point.
Okay.
This is part 1.
Okay.
This is like Leo's history. And then we'll get like Leo's first 17 years or whatever. This is amazing. I'm really having a great time.
I'm such all over the place on
No, seriously, you're fine. But I know where you live. You know where I live now.
Yeah.
This is the end of part 1.
Okay.
And then we'll meet again for part 2.
Awesome.
This is great. Thank you so much for coming over, Leo.
I'm good at one-on-one. Socially outdoors with people, I'm like, I don't know who's who. And I'm the new guy here. So I don't want to be too animated, but because I'm just animated from what they tell me anyways. You're just an animated guy, and sometimes are you just trying to show off? No, I'm just.
But this is why this episode is even more important. I always tell everyone says this. They've learned so much about their friends when they hear these episodes.
Oh, I heard Stone Jones one.
But these are people that have known each other for 20 years, Leo.
And
so the fact that you're, like you said, I'm the new guy, right?
Yeah. That's
people
cool.
don't have time to hear your whole history at a show. And that's fine. That's not what shows are about. Or seeing people at one of their shows. So this is what this is for.
True.
And I can't wait for people to listen to it
right.
and walk up to you and go, hey, Leo, I'm so glad that I know more about you, and they'll understand you. And then they'll coming up to me and going, when's part 2?
Okay.
I want to hear more. So Leo, thank you so much for coming
thank you for
over.
having me. And again, you see, now that's probably why I put the forewarning out there.
Stop apologizing.
No, I don't.
Stop. You're Leo and you're awesome.
Okay.
And this was a great episode.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Leo.